Have you ever wondered if the penny sitting in your pocket right now could be worth more than a luxury mansion? It sounds unbelievable, but that's exactly why millions of Americans are taking a second look at the spare change they've ignored for years. One coin in particular keeps showing up in conversations among collectors, the 1975 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark. Most people spend it without a second thought. A few stop and look closer. And sometimes, that single decision changes everything. The story begins in 1975, when billions of Lincoln cents rolled out of the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike many modern coins, Philadelphia pennies from that era typically carried no mint mark at all. To the average person, they were just ordinary pocket change. But history has a funny way of turning ordinary objects into extraordinary collectibles. Now here's where things get interesting. While a typical 1975 no-mint mark penny is usually worth only a small premium unless it's in exceptional condition or has a significant mint error, the rarest examples can attract astonishing attention from collectors. That's because condition, rarity, and unusual minting mistakes can transform an everyday coin into something far more desirable. Before you toss your change jar aside, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not counted them. Really looked at them. The biggest treasures aren't always the oldest. They're often the ones everyone else overlooks. Collectors carefully inspect every detail. They search for dramatic off-center strikes, doubled lettering, die cracks, broad strikes, clipped planchets, or coins preserved in nearly flawless mint condition. These aren't just imperfections. They're fingerprints from the minting process that can make one coin stand apart from billions of others. Imagine discovering that the penny you've carried for decades isn't simply copper-colored pocket change. Imagine realizing it's a conversation piece that collectors have spent years trying to find. That possibility keeps thousands of treasure hunters searching through rolls of coins every single day. But here's the twist. Not every exciting story you hear online turns out to be true. You've probably seen headlines claiming that every 1975 penny is worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Those headlines grab attention, but reality is far more selective. Extraordinary prices are generally associated only with exceptionally rare error coins or specimens in elite certified condition that achieve remarkable auction results. That's why knowledge matters just as much as luck. Think about it like buying a lottery ticket. Every ticket has a chance, but only a tiny number become life-changing winners. Rare coins work the same way. The difference is that your ticket might already be sitting in an old coffee can, a forgotten dresser drawer, or your grandfather's collection. And here's something many people miss. Cleaning a coin almost always reduces its value. That shiny penny might look better to you, but experienced collectors usually prefer untouched original surfaces. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is absolutely nothing. If you believe you found an unusual 1975 Lincoln cent, compare it carefully with reliable references and consider having it authenticated by a respected third-party grading service. Professional certification can make an enormous difference when establishing authenticity and market value. History has proven that remarkable discoveries still happen. Hidden collections emerge from estates. Forgotten coin jars reveal surprising treasures. Valuable mint errors continue to surface decades after they were created. That's why experienced collectors never stop looking. So before you spend another handful of pennies without a second glance, remember this. The next coin you hold may not be worth a fortune, but the one after it just might be the discovery that every collector dreams about. Sometimes wealth doesn't announce itself with flashing lights. Sometimes it waits quietly in the smallest coin in your pocket, hoping that today will finally be the day someone notices its extraordinary story. Have you ever wondered whether the ordinary-looking 1979 Lincoln penny sitting in a forgotten jar, tucked inside a dresser drawer, or hiding in an old coffee can could be worth far more than a single cent? Most people spend these coins without a second thought. Yet every year, collectors discover remarkable examples that command astonishing prices because of their rarity, condition, or unusual minting errors. The next coin you overlook could become the one you wish you had never spent. In 1979, billions of Lincoln cents were produced, including millions at the Denver Mint carrying the familiar D Mint mark. At first glance, they all seem nearly identical. That's exactly what makes the hunt so exciting. Hidden among countless ordinary pennies are a handful that stand apart from the rest, and identifying them requires patience, knowledge, and a sharp eye. Now here's the question. If two pennies look almost identical, why would one be worth only a cent while another attracts serious attention from collectors? The answer lies in the details that most people never notice. Exceptional strike quality, brilliant original luster, nearly flawless surfaces, and dramatic minting errors can transform an ordinary coin into a collector's prize. Experienced numismatists carefully inspect every letter, every number, every edge, and every tiny detail under magnification because even the smallest difference can make an enormous impact on desirability. But don't stop watching just yet, because one overlooked detail could completely change how you search your own collection. Some 1979 D Lincoln cents have been reported with striking anomalies such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, doubled features, or other mint errors. While many imperfections actually reduce a coin's value, genuine mint errors authenticated by professional grading services often attract tremendous interest from advanced collectors. And here's where excitement meets reality. You may have heard sensational stories claiming certain 1979 D Lincoln pennies are worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions, of dollars. Those headlines usually refer to exceptionally rare circumstances involving unique mint errors, extraordinary preservation, or one-of-a-kind auction results rather than typical circulation coins. The vast majority remain worth only face value or a modest collector premium. Still, extraordinary discoveries do happen. Imagine opening an old family coin album passed down through generations. Between worn nickels and tarnished quarters sits a bright copper penny that no one has examined in decades. You almost toss it aside. Then curiosity wins. A closer inspection reveals something unusual. Suddenly that forgotten coin becomes the beginning of an unforgettable journey. Sounds unbelievable. Remember, every famous coin discovery started with someone deciding to take a second look instead of making assumptions. Before you rush to spend your pocket change, slow down. Compare your coin carefully. Look for unusually sharp details, original red color, signs of doubling, dramatic strike errors, or anything that appears different from ordinary examples. Handle the coin gently, avoid cleaning it, and if you believe you found something special, consider having it authenticated by a reputable grading service. Here's a funny thought. We've all spent more time deciding what to watch on television than examining the coins already sitting in our pockets. Maybe it's time to reverse those priorities. Collectors understand something most people don't. Value isn't created by age alone. It's created by rarity, demand, authenticity, condition, and the story behind the coin. So before another handful of pennies disappears into a cash register or coin counting machine, take a closer look at every 1979 D Lincoln cent you find. The next remarkable discovery won't announce itself with flashing lights. It will look just like every other penny until someone recognizes what everyone else missed. And that someone could be you. Have you ever wondered if the ordinary-looking 1984 Lincoln penny sitting in your pocket, your change jar, or an old coffee can in the garage could be worth far more than a single cent? Most people spend these coins without a second thought. But every now and then, one extraordinary example captures the attention of collectors and sparks bidding wars that few could have imagined. Before you dismiss that old penny, you might want to take a much closer look, because the smallest details can make the biggest difference. The 1984 Lincoln 1-cent coin without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, where pennies traditionally carried no mint mark during that period. Millions were produced, which means most examples are worth only face value. But hidden among those millions are a handful of coins with unusual characteristics that have transformed ordinary pocket change into collector treasures. Now here's where things become fascinating. Imagine dumping a jar of old pennies onto your kitchen table. They all look almost identical. Yet one tiny mistake made during the minting process could separate a common coin from one that collectors eagerly compete to own. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? That's exactly why experienced collectors inspect every coin instead of assuming they're all the same. One of the most talked about varieties from 1984 is the famous doubled ear error on Abraham Lincoln's portrait. Under magnification, the doubling appears around Lincoln's ear, creating one of the most recognizable modern penny errors. This variety has become highly desirable because it combines a dramatic visual error with widespread public interest. High-grade examples certified by professional grading services have sold for thousands of dollars, proving that careful inspection can pay off. But don't stop there. Look for strong doubling in the lettering, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, or coins that somehow escape the mint with unusual defects. While many imperfections are simply damage from circulation, genuine mint errors often display characteristics that specialists recognize immediately. Here's a question for you. When was the last time you actually examined the pennies in your own home? If your answer is never, you're certainly not alone. That's probably why remarkable discoveries continue to happen every year. Of course, excitement should always be balanced with reality. Online stories sometimes exaggerate values, and not every 1984 penny is a hidden fortune. The highest prices are typically reserved for exceptionally rare error coins in outstanding condition, especially those authenticated by respected grading companies. Condition matters. Authenticity matters. Even tiny differences can mean the gap between 1 cent and thousands of dollars. Still, imagine the feeling of finding something everyone else overlooked. A coin that passed through countless hands before finally landing in yours. A forgotten piece of pocket change suddenly becoming the centerpiece of a prized collection. That's the thrill that keeps collectors searching year after year. And here's something worth remembering. Headlines occasionally mention extraordinary asking prices approaching hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even around $784,000 for spectacular, one-of-a-kind examples or sensational listings. But extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and verified auction records remain the true benchmark for determining a coin's market value. So before you cash in that jar of pennies or spend them on your next cup of coffee, slow down. Grab a magnifying glass. Check every date. Study every detail. Compare your coin with known error varieties. If something looks unusual, have it evaluated by a trusted professional before making any decisions. The next incredible discovery won't necessarily come from a museum, a millionaire's collection, or an estate sale. It could come from a forgotten penny hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice what everyone else missed. And that someone could be you. Have you ever wondered whether the next penny you pull from a dusty jar could change your life forever? It sounds unbelievable, yet stories of ordinary people discovering extraordinary coins continue to fuel the dreams of collectors across America. And among the coins that spark endless curiosity, the 1985 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark has become one of the most talked about modern pennies. But here's the twist that almost nobody tells you. The date alone isn't what creates incredible value. The real treasure hides in the tiny details that most people never notice. Imagine dumping a handful of old pennies onto your kitchen table. To most people they're just loose change. To an experienced collector, they could be clues leading to something much bigger. Before you spend another cent, ask yourself one question. What if one small mistake at the mint turned an ordinary penny into a collector's dream? The Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Lincoln cents in 1985, and pennies from Philadelphia normally carried no mint mark during that era. That means a missing mint mark by itself is completely normal. The excitement begins when a seemingly ordinary coin also displays an unusual characteristic that separates it from millions of identical pieces. Now don't look away just yet, because this is where the story becomes fascinating. Collectors spend years searching for dramatic off-center strikes, doubled design elements, broad strikes, die cracks, die breaks, and other genuine mint errors. These rare production mistakes can transform an everyday coin into something far more desirable than its face value. Add exceptional preservation with bright original luster and virtually no wear, and suddenly a humble penny begins attracting serious attention. Here's something that surprises almost everyone. Condition often matters just as much as rarity. A coin that spent decades in circulation usually won't command impressive prices, while a nearly flawless example preserved since the day it left the mint can stand out dramatically from the crowd. Think about that for a second. Two pennies with the same date could have values separated by hundreds or even thousands of dollars simply because one survived in remarkable condition while the other lived its life in pockets, cash registers, and vending machines. And yes, headlines about coins selling for astonishing amounts continue to capture public attention. Exceptional error coins and the rarest certified examples have achieved remarkable auction results across the numismatic world. Those extraordinary sales inspire countless collectors to examine every penny they own, hoping to uncover an overlooked treasure hiding in plain sight. But don't let excitement outrun careful judgment. Many internet rumors claim that every 1985 penny without a mint mark is worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. That's simply not how coin collecting works. The overwhelming majority are worth only a small premium unless they possess a genuinely rare error or exceptional certified condition. The real opportunity lies in learning how to recognize the difference. Here's a fun reality check. If every old penny were worth a fortune, we'd all be paying for groceries with credit cards while guarding piggy banks like bank vaults. So what should you actually do? Start by examining your coins under good lighting with a quality magnifier. Look carefully for unusual doubling, striking errors, missing design elements, or other features that make your coin genuinely different. Never clean an old coin, because even gentle polishing can reduce collector value. If you discover something unusual, consider having it evaluated by a respected professional grading service before making any decisions. And here's the part that keeps collectors searching year after year. Some of history's greatest discoveries happened because someone decided to take one last look before spending an ordinary coin. Your 1985 Lincoln cent may never become a record-breaking rarity, but the next remarkable find has to begin somewhere. It could be sitting quietly in an old coffee can, tucked inside a forgotten coin album, or resting at the bottom of a family change jar, waiting for someone curious enough to notice what everyone else overlooked. Before you spend another penny today, remember this. Real treasures aren't found by luck alone. They're found by the people willing to look closer than everyone else. What if the next penny you pull from an old coffee can, a forgotten dresser drawer, or a dusty coin jar isn't worth 1 cent at all? What if it's the coin that changes the way you think about money forever? Before you spend another Lincoln penny without looking at it, take a closer look. The 1986 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark has captured the attention of collectors across America, and while most examples are only worth face value, a tiny number with extraordinary condition or dramatic minting errors have sold for astonishing amounts. The difference between an ordinary penny and an extraordinary one can come down to details almost invisible to the naked eye. Think about that for a second. How many pennies have passed through your hands over the years? Hundreds? Thousands? Now imagine accidentally spending the one coin that a serious collector has been searching for. That's exactly why experienced collectors never rush. The 1986 no-mint mark Lincoln cent was struck in Philadelphia, where pennies of that year normally carried no mint mark. Millions were produced, making the average coin extremely common. But the story changes when collectors discover examples with exceptional preservation or rare minting mistakes. Suddenly, an ordinary coin becomes the center of an intense bidding war. Here's where things get exciting. The first detail to inspect is the coin's overall condition. Does Lincoln's portrait still have sharp hair details? Is every letter in Liberty crisp and complete? Does the coin still shine with its original mint luster? Coins that somehow escaped circulation for decades are dramatically more desirable than those worn down by everyday use. But don't stop there. Now comes the part that separates casual spenders from serious treasure hunters. Look carefully for doubled lettering, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, die chips, or other genuine mint errors. These unusual characteristics weren't created after the coin left the mint. They happened during production, making each error coin unique. Quick question. Have you ever looked at a penny with a magnifying glass? Most people haven't. They simply toss it into a jar and move on. That's a little like using a winning lottery ticket as a bookmark. It sounds funny, but collectors have heard similar stories more times than you might imagine. As demand for rare Lincoln cents continues to grow, certified high-grade examples regularly command impressive prices. The most valuable pieces are authenticated by professional grading services because serious buyers want proof that a coin is genuine and accurately graded. Without certification, even an incredible-looking coin may struggle to achieve its full market potential. Now imagine finding a nearly flawless 1986 no-mint mark cent with a dramatic mint error hidden inside a forgotten collection. That possibility keeps collectors searching through rolls of pennies every single day. It isn't just about the money. It's about discovering something everyone else overlooked. And here's the twist that surprises many newcomers. Claims of ordinary 1986 pennies being worth hundreds of thousands or even millions spread quickly online, but those extraordinary values apply only to exceptionally rare, authenticated coins with remarkable characteristics. Most examples simply are not worth that much. Knowing the difference is what protects you from costly mistakes and helps you recognize a truly special find. So before you cash in your loose change, slow down. Examine every 1986 no-mint mark Lincoln cent carefully. Compare the details, study the surfaces, and if you discover an unusually sharp coin or a genuine-looking mint error, consider having it professionally authenticated. The next remarkable discovery won't announce itself. It will look like an ordinary penny until someone takes the time to see what everyone else missed. And that someone could be you. Have you ever glanced at a handful of pennies and wondered if one tiny copper coin could quietly be worth more than a luxury mansion? It sounds impossible, yet stories of ordinary pocket change turning into life-changing discoveries have captivated collectors for decades. And today, we're looking at one of the most talked-about modern coins in circulation, the 1991 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark. Before you rush to empty every jar in your house, stay with me, because what separates a common 1-cent coin from an extraordinary collector's prize often comes down to a few tiny details that most people never notice. Millions of these pennies were produced, and the overwhelming majority are worth only face value. But hidden among them are rare examples with exceptional minting errors, remarkable preservation, or unique characteristics that have stunned experienced collectors. Those are the coins that fuel headlines, spark bidding wars, and inspire treasure hunters across America. Imagine spending a single penny without realizing it might have been the most valuable coin you ever owned. That's exactly the fear that keeps serious collectors examining every Lincoln cent before letting it leave their hands. After all, history has shown that the smallest details can create enormous differences in value. But here's where things become even more interesting. A 1991 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia. On its own, that isn't rare. The real excitement begins when experts discover dramatic off-center strikes, doubled lettering, die cracks, broad strikes, clipped planchets, or other genuine mint errors. Combine one of those unusual features with a coin that has remained in virtually flawless condition for decades, and suddenly you're looking at something collectors may eagerly compete to own. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny before spending it? Be honest. Most of us toss them into a drawer, a cup holder, or between the couch cushions without a second thought. Funny how we can search the entire house for our television remote but ignore a coin that might deserve a closer inspection. That's exactly why opportunities sometimes slip through the cracks. Professional grading also plays a major role. Even two nearly identical 1991 pennies can have dramatically different collector values if one receives an elite mint state grade while the other shows everyday circulation wear. Tiny scratches, dull luster, or worn edges may seem insignificant, but they can make an enormous difference when collectors evaluate rarity and quality. As stories spread online, you've probably seen eye-catching claims suggesting certain 1991 Lincoln cents are worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions, of dollars. While exceptional, one-of-a-kind error coins can command astonishing prices. Such claims should always be verified through reputable grading services and documented auction results. The real treasure is knowing exactly what you have before believing sensational headlines. That brings us to the moment every collector dreams about. Picture yourself opening an old family coin jar that's been sitting untouched for years. One penny catches your eye. The date reads 1991. There's no mint mark beneath the date. The surfaces still shine. You notice unusual lettering that doesn't quite look right. Your heart starts racing. Is it simply another ordinary cent, or have you discovered the coin everyone else overlooked? That moment of uncertainty is what makes coin collecting so addictive. Every remarkable discovery begins with curiosity. Every valuable collection starts with a single coin that someone decided not to ignore. The difference between spending a penny and preserving history often comes down to patience, knowledge, and a willingness to look a little closer than everyone else. So before another handful of change disappears into a cash register or gets forgotten in a kitchen drawer, take one more careful look. Examine the date. Study the lettering. Search for unusual errors. Protect any promising finds instead of cleaning them, because cleaning can permanently reduce collector value. The next incredible discovery probably won't announce itself with flashing lights. It may be hiding silently in your pocket, waiting for someone who understands that extraordinary wealth sometimes begins with the smallest piece of American history ever minted.